Damon Vega lounged in his hover chair, his posture exuding disinterest, while the meticulously groomed elites around him pretended not to notice. The auction hall of the Cosmic Voyager was a spectacle of extravagance, its crystalline dome revealing the turbulent emerald clouds of the gas giant Orion. Damon sipped his obscenely priced plasma-infused bourbon, flashing a cocky grin at Natalia Prescott, seated a few rows ahead with her energy mogul father. Lot 391, came the auctioneer's smooth, mechanical voice. A rare acquisition from the Viner mining colonies? A platform rose from the ground, showcasing a young woman with shimmering scales that refracted the light like crushed gemstones. She stood motionless, her violet eyes unfocused, clearly sedated. 50,000 credits, someone began, and the bidding steadily climbed. Natalia turned her head toward Damon, her lips forming the word boring as her father shouted, 200,000 credits. She rolled her eyes with theatrical exaggeration. Damon's neural implant vibrated against his temple, a message from Nico Arvin. Quit ogling Natalia and pay attention. The next item is critical. Straightening slightly, Damon adjusted his jacket. Nico's instructions weren't to be ignored. The man had practically built Damon's life from scratch. Sold to Mr. Prescott. The auctioneer's gavel struck, its sharp sound echoing through the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, the auctioneer continued, his tone suddenly reverent. Lot 392. A singular artifact of unknown origin, recovered from the Outer Rim. Believed to be ancient Erathian technology. A new platform rose, this one carrying a sleek metallic cylinder nearly 2 meters long. Its surface glimmered with intricate, shifting patterns, like ripples across a still pond. Starting bid, 1 million credits? The room buzzed with tension. The Erathians were a civilization shrouded in mystery, their advanced technology still baffling modern science. 1.5 million, declared Lady Ashcroft, her cybernetic lenses zooming in on the artifact. 2 million, countered Lord Karan, his pale features twitching with greed. Damon's implant buzzed again. Whatever it costs, bid on it. He smirked. Chaos was his favorite game. 10 million credits, Damon announced, his voice dripping with mockery. The room went silent, save for Natalia's delighted laugh. Well played, she whispered to herself, loud enough for others to hear. The auctioneer hesitated, clearly startled. 10 million. Do I hear 10.5? The crowd fidgeted, calculations flashing behind cybernetic eyes. Lord Karan's face flushed crimson with frustration, but no counterbid came. Sold to Mr. Vega? The gavel fell. Damon raised his glass in a lazy toast, already bored with his new acquisition. He'd bid on it partly to annoy the competition, but mostly because Nico told him to. Not that he'd admit it. Natalia approached, ignoring her father's scowls. Father's furious, she said with a smirk, draping herself across Damon's hover chair. He's been salivating over Erathian tech for years. You're insufferable, you know that? Glad you noticed, Damon said, watching Prescott Sr. fume across the room. Natalia laughed, leaning closer. Her perfume smelled like rare flowers, probably grown in a biodome on some exotic moon. Want to get out of here? Father will be busy sulking for hours. Before Damon could answer, a shadow fell over them. Nico Arvin stood there, dressed in a dark suit that shimmered like starlight on water. His silver-streaked hair and piercing gray eyes commanded respect. Miss Prescott, Nico said smoothly, his tone polite but firm. I believe your father is calling for you. Natalia's pout was almost comical. Always so serious, Nico. But she didn't argue. Few people dared to push Nico Arvin, who controlled most of the galaxy's trade routes. She patted Damon's shoulder and sauntered off. You didn't have to scare her off, Damon said, signaling for another drink. Focus, Nico said, taking the chair next to him. His expression was sharp. That artifact you just purchased, it'll be delivered to your penthouse shortly. I need you to contact me immediately when it arrives. Why? Damon asked, studying Nico's face. What's so special about a piece of ancient space junk? Just do as I ask. Nico's tone was final as he stood. For once in your life, Vega, don't make this difficult. Damon watched him leave, unease curling in his stomach. He owed Nico everything, his education, his wealth, his survival, but there were moments when the man's motives felt murky. An hour later, Damon's personal shuttle docked at his sprawling penthouse atop New Polaris' tallest tower. The shimmering city stretched beneath him, its lights rivaling the stars above. Package delivered to the secure room, announced his AI. Caution, detected anomalous energy signatures. Damon's curiosity piqued. He strode to the secure room, a vault-like space lined with reinforced plating and state-of-the-art scanners. The cylinder lay on a pedestal, its surface alive with those mesmerizing patterns. "Let's see what the fuss is about," Damon muttered. As he approached, the cylinder began to hum softly. A seam appeared along its side, and with a hiss, the metallic surface slid open. Damon stumbled back as a figure emerged. A girl, barely more than 20, with skin the color of amethyst and hair like silver threads, stood before him. Her luminous violet eyes fixed on his, filled with confusion and something else, fear. "What the?" Damon whispered. The alien girl swayed, her voice barely audible. "Help me." This was no artifact. This was something else entirely. Chapter 2, The Message. Damon froze, his mind racing. The girl in front of him was unlike anything he'd ever encountered. Her skin shimmered like polished crystal, her hair catching the dim light in strands of molten silver. But it was her eyes, violet and impossibly deep, that pinned him in place. She looked terrified. "Who are you?" Damon asked, his voice more uncertain than he liked. The girl staggered, her legs trembling. Without thinking, Damon caught her before she fell. Her skin was warm, softer than it appeared. Up close, he could see faint patterns glowing beneath her flesh, shifting like the ones on the cylinder. "Help me," she whispered again, her voice frail. Damon eased her onto a nearby bench. His AI assistant, ever dutiful, chimed in through the room's speakers. "Anomalous biological readings detected. Subject's vitals are unstable. Recommend medical intervention." "No kidding," Damon muttered. He tapped his wrist, activating his comm Nico. He barked. The response was instant. "What's happening, Vega?" Nico's tone was clipped, all business. "You might want to come here and see this for yourself," Damon replied, glancing at the girl. Her breathing was shallow, her hands clutching the bench's edge as if the room were spinning. "I told you to contact me when the artifact arrived, not waste time," Nico snapped. "Yeah, about that," Damon said. "The artifact just climbed out of the damn box." There was a pause. "What did you say?" "You heard me. There's a girl here. Purple skin, glowing patterns, scared out of her mind." "What the hell did you make me buy, Nico?" "I'm on my way," Nico said. The line went dead. Damon sighed and crouched next to the girl, his tone softening. "Hey, it's okay. You're safe here. No one's going to hurt you." Her eyes flicked toward him, distrust clear on her face. She opened her mouth as if to speak, but her body tensed, her hands gripping her sides. "What's wrong?" Damon asked, resisting the urge to panic. The girl convulsed, and a faint glow spread across her chest. Symbols, alien and intricate, appeared on her skin, pulsing with light. Damon stumbled back, his instincts screaming at him to run, but he forced himself to stay. The glowing marks shifted, arranging themselves into a shape that hovered just above her body, a projection of some kind. A voice, melodic and strange, echoed through the room. "Emergency protocol activated. Subject, Erathian biovessel Xara 7. Status, critical. Location, hostile territory. Objective, ensure survival." The projection faded, the marks vanishing from her skin. The girl slumped forward, unconscious. "What the hell?" Damon breathed. The AI chimed in again. Unknown language partially translated. "Data suggests a biological entity containing advanced Erathian technology." Damon rubbed his temples. This was spiraling out of control fast. A sharp knock at the penthouse's main door startled him. Nico had arrived. Damon glanced down at the girl, Xara or whatever she was called, and then back toward the door. "Stay here," he murmured, though he knew she couldn't hear him. He stepped out of the secure room, sealing it behind him. When Damon opened the door, Nico strode in, flanked by two imposing security agents. The older man's expression was as unreadable as ever, though Damon noticed a flicker of unease in his usually unshakable demeanor. "Where is it?" Nico asked. "Not it, Nico. She." Damon led him toward the secure room, unlocking the door with a wave of his wrist. When they entered, Nico stopped in his tracks. His sharp gray eyes scanned the unconscious girl, taking in every detail. For the first time in years, Damon thought he saw genuine surprise on Nico's face. "Well?" Damon said. "Care to explain what's going on?" Nico approached the girl, kneeling beside her. He examined the faint glow still pulsing beneath her skin. "This is unexpected," he murmured. "Unexpected? That's all you've got?" Damon crossed his arms. "You had me bid 10 million credits on an ancient artifact, and it turns out to be a living person. What's the deal, Nico? Who or what is she?" Nico stood, his expression hardening. She's Erathian, or at least partially. If what I think is true, this girl is carrying technology far beyond anything humanity has ever seen. The kind of technology people will kill for. Great, Damon said sarcastically. So now I'm stuck babysitting a glowing alien girl while half the galaxy tries to hunt me down? You're not stuck with anything, Nico said sharply. You're involved because I need someone I can trust. This girl could change everything, the balance of power, the future of our civilization. But if the wrong people find out about her... He let the sentence hang, the implication clear. Damon glanced at the girl again. She looked so small, so fragile, but there was something about her that felt dangerous, powerful. What do we do now? Damon asked. For now, you keep her here, Nico said. I'll make some calls, figure out our next move. Whatever you do, don't let anyone else see her. Not even your staff. Yeah, because secrecy has always been my strong suit, Damon muttered. Nico gave him a pointed look. This isn't a game, Vega. If you screw this up, it won't just be your life on the line. With that, Nico left, his security team following close behind. Damon sat down heavily, staring at the unconscious girl. Whatever he'd gotten himself into, it was bigger than he'd realized. And he had a sinking feeling it was only the beginning. Chapter 3, Waking the Storm. Damon paced the length of the penthouse's secure room, every step echoing off the reinforced walls. The girl, Xara, as the glowing projection had named her, remained unconscious on the bench. Her breathing was steady, but she looked impossibly fragile, as if a gust of wind might shatter her. Outside the vault, the AI's soothing voice chimed. Mr. Vega, your guest, Miss Natalia Prescott, is requesting entry. Shall I grant access? Damon groaned. Of course Natalia would pick the worst possible time to come snooping. No, he snapped. Tell her I'm busy. Miss Prescott has indicated she's unwilling to leave without an explanation. Great, he muttered. Tell her I'm dealing with some kind of intergalactic emergency. That'll shut her up. Message sent, the AI replied. Damon shook his head, glancing at Xara. Her face was peaceful, her silver hair draped over her shoulder like liquid light. Whatever this biovessel business meant, she wasn't just some random alien. She was important. And that terrified him. A sudden sound made him jump, a low hum emanating from Xara's body. Her patterns began to glow again, faint but unmistakable. Damon stepped closer, unsure whether to call Nico or keep his distance. Hey, he said cautiously. Can you hear me? The hum grew louder and Xara's eyes fluttered open. For a moment she seemed disoriented, her violet gaze darting around the room. Then, in a movement almost too fast to track, she shot upright, backing into the corner with her hands raised defensively. Whoa, whoa, Damon said, holding up his hands. Easy. I'm not going to hurt you. Xara's breathing quickened, and the glowing patterns on her skin pulsed erratically. Where am I? She asked, her voice trembling. You're safe, Damon said, keeping his voice calm. You're in my penthouse. No one here's going to harm you. Her eyes narrowed. Who are you? Damon Vega. I bought the cylinder they had you locked in. Her expression darkened. You bought me? No. Not like that. Damon winced. I didn't know you were in there. They said it was an artifact, a piece of Erathian tech. I didn't realize. Xara's body relaxed slightly, though the tension in her face remained. You didn't know, she repeated, her tone skeptical. Look, I swear I didn't have a clue, Damon said. 1 minute I'm outbidding a bunch of snobba-billionaires and the next you're crawling out of that thing. Xara studied him for a moment before lowering her hands. You're human, she said softly. Guilty as charged. Damon tried a smile, but she didn't return it. And you're Erathian? At least partly? Her gaze dropped to her hands, where faint traces of the glowing patterns still lingered. I'm not sure what I am anymore, she said quietly. That caught Damon off guard. What do you mean? Xara hesitated, then took a deep breath. I was born Erathian. My people were scientists, explorers. We created technologies to protect ourselves, to preserve knowledge. But something went wrong. I don't remember everything, but there was an attack. We were overrun. Her voice cracked and she clenched her fists. I volunteered for a program, a last-ditch effort to save what was left of us. They called it the Biovessel Initiative. I think I'm the only one who survived. Damon felt a pang of sympathy. You've been in that cylinder all this time? I don't know how long it's been, Xara admitted. I only remember fragments. Waking up here feels like the first time I've really been alive. Damon nodded slowly. Okay. So you're some kind of living repository for advanced Erathian tech. That explains why Nico was so desperate for me to win the auction. Nico? Xara tilted her head. The guy who told me to buy you, the cylinder, Damon explained. He's complicated. Let's just say he has a knack for getting involved in high-stakes situations. Can he be trusted? Damon hesitated. The truth was even he wasn't sure. Most of the time. But he's got his own agenda. Xara frowned, her fingers tracing one of the glowing patterns on her arm. If your friend knows what I am, others will too. People will come for me. They'll want what's inside me. Damon swallowed hard. He'd seen what people in the galaxy were willing to do for a fraction of the power Xara seemed to hold. No one's going to get to you, he said firmly. Not while you're here. She studied him again, her eyes searching his face for any hint of deception. Finally she nodded. Before either of them could say more, Damon's AI interrupted. Mr. Vega, security breach detected on the lower levels. Multiple unauthorized individuals are entering the building. Damon cursed under his breath. Nico, he muttered. I swear if this is one of your games. It's not Nico, Xara said, her voice urgent. They found me? Who? Damon asked. Xara's expression hardened. People who won't stop until they rip me apart to get what they want. The AI spoke again, this time with more urgency. Intruders have bypassed level 3 security. Recommend immediate evacuation. Damon's mind raced. He glanced at Xara, then at the vault door. Can you fight? She raised her hands, the patterns on her skin flaring brighter. I can do more than fight. Damon grinned despite himself. Good. Because it sounds like we're about to have company. The faint hum of approaching footsteps echoed through the hall outside. Xara stepped forward, her violet eyes blazing with determination. Let's show them what they've found, she said. Damon cracked his knuckles. Now you're speaking my language? As the first explosion rocked the penthouse, he couldn't help but think this wasn't quite the boring night he'd expected. Chapter 4, Breakthrough. The blast shook the penthouse, sending a rain of shattered glass and metal skittering across the polished floor. Damon dove behind a couch, yanking Xara down with him as laser fire scorched the air above their heads. Your security's terrible? Xara shouted over the chaos. Not usually an issue when I'm not housing priceless alien tech. Damon shot back, drawing a sleek plasma pistol from his jacket. 3 intruders stepped through the smoke-filled doorway, their black combat armor gleaming under the emergency lights. Damon peeked over the couch, heart pounding. Whoever they were highly trained, coordinated movements, advanced weaponry, and helmets that hid their faces behind mirrored visors. Stay down. Damon hissed at Xara. But Xara didn't listen. She rose to her feet, her glowing patterns flaring brighter with each step. The lead intruder raised his rifle, but before he could fire, Xara thrust her hands forward. A wave of energy rippled from her palms, slamming into the attackers like a physical force. They flew backward, smashing into the walls with bone-crunching impacts. Damon blinked, lowering his pistol. Well, that's one way to do it, he muttered. Xara stumbled, her glow dimming. Damon rushed to steady her. You okay? She nodded, breathing hard. It takes a lot out of me. But they're not done. As if on cue, more footsteps echoed from the hallway. Damon cursed under his breath. My penthouse is turning into a war zone. Fantastic. He activated his comm AI, lockdown protocol. Seal all exits except the private hangar. Divert power to defensive systems. Lockdown initiated, the AI replied smoothly. Warning. Intruders are deploying breaching charges on level 5. Of course they are, Damon grumbled. Xara pulled away from him, standing straighter. Her violet eyes burned with intensity. We need to leave. They're not just here for me, they'll kill anyone in their way. Damon holstered his pistol, nodding. Hangars this way. Let's move. They bolted down the corridor, the lights flickering as the building's power grid struggled under the strain of the lockdown. Behind them, muffled explosions signaled that the intruders were breaking through floor by floor. Who are these guys? Damon asked as they rounded a corner. Not sure, Xara admitted, her voice tight. Could be scavengers, bounty hunters, or worse, government agents. Once word gets out about what I am, they'll all come. Damon didn't like the sound of that. What do they want from you? They don't want me, Xara said bitterly. They want what's inside me, the technology, the data. My body is just a container to them. Noted, Damon said grimly. Let's make sure they don't get either. They burst into the hangar bay, the sleek contours of Damon's private ship gleaming under the emergency lights. The Starblade was a state-of-the-art craft, built for speed and stealth. "Get aboard," Damon shouted, sprinting toward the ship. Xara hesitated, glancing back toward the corridor. Damon noticed her hesitation and turned. "What are you waiting for?" She frowned. "I can sense them. They're already here." As if in answer, another explosion tore through the hangar wall, revealing a squad of armored soldiers. They moved with lethal precision, their rifles aimed squarely at Damon and Xara. Damon didn't think. He raised his pistol and fired, forcing the attackers to take cover. Xara stepped forward, her hands glowing again. "No, don't," Damon started to say, but it was too late. Xara unleashed another wave of energy more powerful than the last. It rippled through the hangar, short-circuiting lights, melting metal, and sending the soldiers sprawling. But the strain was visible on her face. Her legs buckled, and Damon barely caught her before she hit the ground. "Easy," he said, hoisting her up. "You're going to burn yourself out." "I'm fine," she insisted, though her voice was weak. Damon carried her up the ship's loading ramp, the AI greeting them as they entered. "Welcome aboard, Mr. Vega. Flight systems are primed and ready." "Good," Damon said, setting Xara down gently in the co-pilot's chair. He slid into the pilot's seat, his hands flying over the controls. The Starblade roared to life, its engines humming with power. "Hang on," Damon warned. The ship lifted off just as the intruders regrouped, firing a volley of lasers that ricocheted harmlessly off the hull. Damon punched the thrusters, and the Starblade shot out of the hangar, leaving the attackers, and his wrecked penthouse, behind. As the ship ascended into the atmosphere, Damon glanced at Xara. She was pale, her glow almost completely faded. "Hey," he said softly. "You okay?" She nodded weakly. "I'll be fine. Just need to rest." Damon set the ship on autopilot and turned to face her fully. "Listen, I need answers. Who's hunting you? What's in you that's worth risking all of that?" Xara hesitated, her eyes clouded with pain. "Inside me is everything. The knowledge of the Erathians, their history, their technology. But it's not just data. It's alive, Damon. It's a part of me. And if the wrong people get it..." She didn't finish, but Damon could guess. He leaned back in his seat, running a hand through his hair. "Okay. So where do we go from here?" Xara's eyes flicked to the stars outside the cockpit window. "There's a place, a sanctuary. If we can reach it, I might be able to unlock more of what's inside me. But it's far and it's dangerous." "Danger's my middle name," Damon said with a smirk, though his heart was pounding. Xara didn't laugh. "This isn't a joke. If we don't make it, there's no second chance." Damon met her gaze, the weight of her words settling over him. For once, he didn't have a sarcastic comeback. "Then we'd better not miss," he said finally, gripping the controls. The Starblade streaked into the black, leaving the chaos behind, but Damon had a feeling the worst was yet to come. Chapter 5. A Beacon in the Void. The Starblade slipped into the vast silence of deep space, the chaos of New Austin far behind them. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction, their cold light reflecting off the ship's polished hull. Damon sat at the controls, glancing occasionally at Xara, who was curled up in the co-pilot's chair. She looked drained, her violet skin pale and her glowing patterns dimmed to near invisibility. Whatever power she had unleashed in the hangar had taken its toll. "Any chance you're going to tell me where this sanctuary is?" Damon asked, breaking the silence. Xara opened her eyes, her gaze fixed on the stars outside. "It's called Collier's Haven. It was a refuge for Erathian scholars and engineers during the war, a place where we hid our most precious knowledge. If it's still there, I can find answers. Maybe even a way to protect what's inside me. And if it's not still there?" Damon pressed. Xara's expression darkened. "Then we're out of options." Damon sighed, leaning back in his seat. "Great. Love the odds." The AI chimed in, its voice calm and emotionless. "Mr. Vega, long-range scanners are detecting multiple ships on an intercept course. Estimated time to contact, 15 minutes? Damon's stomach sank. "Let me guess, they're not delivering pizza." "I doubt it," Xara muttered, sitting up straighter. "They've already found us." Damon checked the console, his fingers flying over the controls. The scanner displayed a cluster of red blips moving rapidly toward them. "Looks like 4 ships," he said. "Small, fast, probably mercenaries or bounty hunters." "They'll be heavily armed," Xara said, her voice grim. "Well, so are we," Damon shot back. He flicked a switch, and the Starblade's weapon systems powered up with a satisfying hum. "Strap in, princess. Things are about to get bumpy." Xara didn't argue. She fastened her harness and leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. If they board us, they won't stop until they have me, or until we're both dead. They're not boarding this ship, Damon said firmly. The enemy ships appeared on the forward screen, their sleek angular designs cutting through the void like predatory fish. They fanned out, trying to surround the Starblade. AI, Damon said, plot an evasive course. Let's see if we can lose these guys. Course plotted, the AI responded. Engaging evasive maneuvers. The Starblade banked sharply, its engines roaring as it accelerated. Laser fire streaked past the cockpit, close enough to make Damon flinch. He gripped the controls tightly, his jaw clenched. Any bright ideas? Xara asked, her voice tense. Working on it, Damon said through gritted teeth. One of the enemy ships moved in close, its weapons locking onto the Starblade. Damon fired the rear turret, and a burst of plasma bolts struck the ship's engines. It spiraled out of control, vanishing in a flash of light. One down, Damon muttered. 3 to go, Xara said, her tone edged with urgency. The remaining ships adjusted their formation, coordinating their attacks. Damon dodged another volley of laser fire, but the Starblade shuddered as a shot grazed the hull. Shields at 70%, the AI reported. We're not going to outrun them forever, Xara said, her glowing patterns flickering faintly as she focused. Then we don't outrun them, Damon said, a reckless grin spreading across his face. What does that mean? Xara asked, alarmed. It means we take the fight to them. Before she could protest, Damon yanked the controls, spinning the Starblade into a tight loop that brought it face to face with the pursuing ships. He fired the forward cannons, and a barrage of plasma bolts tore through the nearest enemy craft, reducing it to a fiery wreck. 2 left. Damon shouted, adrenaline coursing through him. The remaining ships veered off, clearly rethinking their strategy. One broke away, circling wide to attack from the side. The other accelerated, firing a relentless stream of lasers. Damon pushed the Starblade to its limits, weaving through the onslaught with skill that even surprised himself. But the ship wasn't invincible, and another shot rocked the cockpit, triggering alarms. Shields at 40%, the AI warned. Xara unbuckled her harness, her glowing patterns intensifying. I can stop them. Damon glanced at her, alarmed. You can barely stand. I don't need to stand, she said, her voice steady despite her exhaustion. Just get me close enough to their lead ship. Damon hesitated, but the determination in her eyes was undeniable. Fine. But if you pass out again, I'm not carrying you this time. Xara smirked faintly. Deal? Damon maneuvered the Starblade toward the lead ship, narrowly dodging another volley of fire. Xara moved to the viewport, placing her hands against the glass. Her glowing patterns flared brighter than ever, filling the cockpit with an otherworldly light. The enemy ship's weapons suddenly stopped firing. It shuddered violently, its engines sparking and failing. What the hell are you doing? Damon asked, awed and terrified. I'm disrupting their systems, Xara said through gritted teeth. But it's harder than I thought. The second ship took advantage of her distraction, firing a missile that streaked toward the Starblade. Damon reacted instantly, firing the rear turret. The missile detonated just short of its target, but the shockwave slammed into the ship, throwing Damon and Xara against their seats. Shields at 10%, the AI said. Xara, whatever you're doing, finish it now, Damon yelled. With a final surge of light, Xara released her hold on the lead ship. It erupted in a silent explosion, debris scattering into the void. Damon wasted no time, spinning the Starblade around to face the last remaining enemy. The ship hesitated, clearly reconsidering its chances. Get lost, Damon muttered, firing a warning shot across its bow. The ship turned tail and fled, disappearing into the stars. Damon exhaled, his hands shaking as he steadied the Starblade. We're clear. For now. Xara collapsed into the co-pilot's chair, her glow completely gone. That took more out of me than I thought. You think? Damon said, glancing at her with concern. She gave him a weak smile. Told you I could stop them? Damon shook his head, a reluctant grin tugging at his lips. You're insane. And you're reckless, Xara countered. Guess we make a good team then. For a moment, the cockpit was silent except for the hum of the ship's engines. Then Xara's gaze drifted to the navigation console. Collier's Haven, she said softly. It's still a long way off, but we have to get there. It's the only chance we have. Damon nodded, his expression serious. We'll make it. One way or another. As the Starblade set course for the distant sanctuary, Damon couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was only beginning, and that the secrets Xara carried would change everything. Chapter 6. The Key to Everything. The journey to Collier's Haven was tense but mercifully uneventful. Xara spent most of the trip recovering, her glow slowly returning, while Damon worked tirelessly at the controls, scanning for any sign of pursuit. The stars seemed quieter now, but Damon knew better than to trust the silence of deep space. When the Starblade finally dropped out of hyperspace, the sanctuary lay ahead, a massive structure nestled within the heart of a nebula, its silver spires glowing faintly as the nebula's gases swirled around it like a living shroud. "This is it?" Damon asked, staring at the ancient structure. Xara nodded, her voice tinged with awe. "It's still intact. They didn't find it?" Damon guided the ship toward the sanctuary's docking bay, his fingers twitching nervously over the controls. The structure loomed larger with every second, its design unmistakably Erathian, smooth, organic shapes that seemed to defy gravity and logic, as if it were grown rather than built. The Starblade landed with a gentle thud. Damon powered down the engines and turned to Xara. "All right, we're here. Now what?" "Now," Xara said, standing with renewed energy, "we find the core." "The core?" Damon echoed, raising an eyebrow. She met his gaze, her expression serious. "The sanctuary's heart. It holds the key to unlocking everything inside me, the full knowledge of my people. It's why they're after me, Damon. If I can access it, we can use it to stop them." "But," Damon crossed his arms. "But what?" Her glow dimmed slightly. "The sanctuary's defenses are unpredictable. It was designed to protect itself at all costs. If it senses a threat, it could destroy us before we get close." "Great," Damon muttered. "A suicidal fortress. Love that." "Stay close to me," Xara said. "It might recognize me as Erathian and let us pass. If not, well, I'll figure something out." "That's comforting," Damon said dryly. They exited the ship into the sanctuary's dimly lit interior. The air was cool, almost sterile, and the walls seemed to pulse faintly with energy. As they moved deeper into the structure, Damon couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. "You sure this place is safe?" he asked, his hand resting on his holstered pistol. "No," Xara admitted. "Fantastic," Damon muttered. They entered a vast chamber, its ceiling disappearing into darkness. In the center of the room stood a towering crystal, glowing faintly with a shifting, iridescent light. "The core," Xara whispered, her voice reverent. She approached the crystal slowly, her glowing patterns flaring brighter with each step. The room seemed to respond to her presence, the walls shimmering and the air vibrating with a low hum. Damon stayed back, his hand still on his pistol. He didn't trust the place, or whoever might still be hunting them. Xara placed her hands on the crystal, and the light within it intensified, spreading through her body like fire. Her eyes widened and she gasped. "What's happening?" Damon asked, stepping closer. "It's unlocking," Xara said, her voice filled with wonder. "I can feel it, the knowledge, the history. It's all here." The crystal pulsed, and Damon felt a shockwave ripple through the room. He staggered, clutching the wall for support. "Xara, is this supposed to happen?" Before she could answer, a voice filled the chamber, cold, mechanical, and unyielding. "Unauthorized presence detected. Initiating termination protocols." Damon's blood ran cold. "I thought you said it would recognize you." Xara's glow flickered as she struggled to stay connected to the crystal. "It's confused, it's been dormant for too long. I need more time." The walls began to shift, panels sliding open to reveal automated turrets and hovering drones. Damon drew his pistol, firing at the nearest turret before it could lock onto them. "I hope you're almost done," he shouted, ducking behind a pillar as lasers scorched the air around him. Xara didn't respond, her focus entirely on the crystal. The light from her patterns was now blinding, her body trembling under the strain. Damon fired at another drone, taking it down with a well-placed shot. "Xara, we can't hold out forever." The crystal pulsed again and the room fell silent. The drones froze in midair, their weapons powering down. Damon lowered his pistol cautiously. "What just happened?" he asked. Xara turned to him, her eyes glowing with a brilliance that was almost otherworldly. "I stopped it. The sanctuary recognizes me now. We're safe." Damon let out a breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. "Good. Because I was about 5 seconds away from getting fried." Xara stepped away from the crystal, her movements unsteady but purposeful. "It's done, Damon. I have everything now, the knowledge, the technology, the means to fight back." "Fight back against who?" Damon asked. "The ones who want to exploit this," Xara said, her voice steady. "The corporations, the warlords, the governments, They can't be allowed to use Erathian technology for their own gain. Too powerful. Too dangerous. Damon nodded slowly. So what's the plan? Xara smiled faintly. We take the fight to them. But first, we find the others. Others? There are more like me, Xara said. Not many, but enough. If we can find them, we can rebuild what was lost. We can make things right. Damon considered her words, his mind racing. He'd spent his life chasing wealth, adventure, and the next big score. But now, standing in the heart of an ancient sanctuary with a glowing alien girl at his side, he realized he wanted something more. All right, he said finally. Let's do it. But you're buying the fuel? Xara laughed, a sound that was both relieved and hopeful. Together, they returned to the Starblade, the sanctuary's glow fading behind them as they launched back into the stars. The fight wasn't over, not by a long shot. But for the first time, Damon felt like he was part of something bigger than himself. And for the first time he was ready. The end.